And with the Cobra, there is an element of Cobra that is about transformation because of shedding its skin. We've had the year of the snake in the last 2025, so there's been a shedding of the skin. So at this time, you've come to a time of shedding an old skin, of working on something for a long time that you perfected your craft. You've given up a lot of social time to perfect this craft and to make this thing viable that you're working on. Good evening, it's Dee in Spirit. It is the first full moon of 2026. And I thought about the moon and the full moon, and I thought, we need to do another nature lovers reading. And with the moon being what it is, it seems like a good time to do that. So, and I was also called to pick up a rock. This particular rock was the one that I had been drawn to for a little while. It's just a flower. That was the one I was supposed to pick up, is the one that has the kind of almost, let's see, flower pattern. You can see. Now, I've taken some really detailed pictures, and there's a lot of things to look at, but um, that's the one that I was told to pick up, and there's a lot of stuff in it. It's very interesting, so we'll look at that. You can probably see images right now as we're just doing this little part right here. Then we have our animal cards. Then we have the celestial oracle deck. We have our nature oracle. And then also our spirit and senses cards. And we'll also look at the number associated with our reading when we get through. So it's been kind of a busy holiday period for me. I've had a lot of stuff coming in from storage that, finalizing, moving, and getting final stuff in the house. And it's just been a huge push and not a lot of time. And so it may be, I'm sure, I like to do these readings when they're full moon ones. I usually do it like when the full moon is out, like during the full moon. So you usually don't get them until the next day. So this one, I'll try to get this posted tomorrow, provided I don't go over time talking about the rock and have a whole lot of things to add in there. But we're going to get started with our full moon, our first full moon of 2026 nature lovers reading. Welcome to Dee in Spirit. We begin when the moon is exactly over our heads. We're going to do nature lovers reading for the full moon this time, for the first full moon, the super full moon, January 2026. This table's a little weird, but I kind of chose it. It's futuristic in a way. It's just material in my home, but it reminded me of when we did the Wiz when I was a kid, and the costumes that we had were like this stuff right here, like the silver, and then I don't know, cardboard and other weird stuff, but anyway, it's just almost like futuristic, and it kind of made me laugh. And I was thinking about the moon and how in regular tarot we usually think that, well, immediately it's something obscured, because you can't see well in just the light of the moon as far as seeing details and things. But actually, there's a lot of other meanings. And I was thinking about when it's a full moon, how there's all these anecdotal stories of strange things that simply occur. And science says that they can't prove why, but many people know anecdotally, if you work in a hospital, that full moon is when people go into labor. They simply do. Other things also happen that show up at hospitals. So it's kind of interesting to think about that in the light of this full moon. That unlike the tarot card, our full moon, there's a lot more meanings to it, and a lot more meanings to our earth. And I was thinking about specifically the nature of the moon, like the naturalness of it, and its part in nature and bringing in the tide and all these other things. So those may be some things that are interesting to think about as we go through this reading. That for us, a celestial full moon is really a time of revealing maybe things that are hidden, a time of heightened intuition, a time of a greater connection to the divine, a time of greater gravitational pull on our bodies, a time of the rising up of the water in our bodies, all sorts of little strange things that accompany the full moon. So we're going to start with our sense and our spirit cards, because indeed we're a part of nature, and we tell what's happening around us with our senses, and we have a spirit within, that can be high or it could be low, that can be many different things. So we want to know what sense or what spirit that we need to hear this reading with. They're little cards, so. Alright, here we go. So there we go. It doesn't usually take long. Our sense of touch and spirit of strength. So our sense of touch, which makes me think of, feeling the sand when the tide comes in and feeling it go from under your fingers as the tide goes back out. And the spirit of strength. And there's lots of places, if you wanted to look up some biblical passages, you can look up lots of passages in the Bible that talk about strength and the spirit of strength. And God giving you a spirit of strength. So I'm going to lay those there with a sense of touch and the spirit of strength part, because I want to know what animal card is going to begin this year with you. What animal is resting with you? At the beginning of this year on the supermoon, you have two animals resting with you. Okay, you have the cobra. Change is inevitable, but with it comes the chance to shed a burden. Indeed, we're moving into a new year from a 9-year into a 1 year, so closing things out and changing and beginning things anew. The snake year was 2025, so the shedding of the skin, and the rebirth as the newer, larger. So it's kind of fitting that you should get the cobra with this reading. And then seal, hard work and inspiration are the foundation of true creativity. And as we go through the reading, we're going to look at some specifics about those animals that may relate to your reading today. All right, I'm going to pull from the regular tarot. We'll use the celestial tarot. Okay. I have the Three of Cups. Okay, I'm going to put the Three of Cups right here. And then we're going to pull another one that's going to tell us about this is, a connection and collaboration. It's, friendship and celebration and joyfulness coming together. But it could be involved with creativity, as the seal suggests here. And there could be a change coming in your life that maybe you haven't had many people in your world, and this change is coming that you might have more people surrounding you and a bigger support group there for you. And the Knight of Swords. Alright. I'm going to get one more from the Celestial deck. There we go. And the Knight of Pentacles. So 2 knights bringing in this time of friendship and celebration. A knight coming in with truth. And a knight coming in with resources and abundance. The first two cards that we pulled are the seal and the cobra, because you got two animal cards. And there's an interesting, let me see if I got this right here. There's an interesting duality in this reading, because, and we'll start with the seal. But the duality continues throughout the reading. So the seal is an animal that lives its life both on land and water. Flows easily between those two worlds. So you might find right now that you're having really vivid dreams, seemingly really wild and crazy dreams, but very vivid and detailed. And if that's the case, that's normal if seal has been chosen to guide you, as they say. So in your dreams, the things you might want to just take note of, if you're jotting your dreams down in the morning, like say in a journal form, you might want to jot down any time indicators within the dream, like anything that would indicate to you like what time period or what time in your life they may be occurring. If there's any time indicators in the dream, that can involve clothing, that can involve the things you see around you. It can involve a wide variety of things, because you may know yourself, if it involves certain age children that you have, then that will give you a time indicator. So you want to jot down any person indicators. So like, what are you doing in the dream? What are other people doing? Who are the other people? If you don't know who they are, what are your indications of who they are? Because you might not know exactly. Jot down any action or motion that's happening throughout the dream, whatever action, be verbs that are occurring in the dream. Write that down. And then the physical descriptions also of the players in the dream, which might notate any changes in how you look in the dream versus how you look in regular life in a mirror, or what the people look like that you may or may not know who they are. And then there's an overall feeling, usually an overall impression or aura that will come with the dreams, and you can jot those down as well. And those are all good things just to kind of keep a basic. Sometimes they're not linear, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to get it down on paper. So those are some ways that you can actually write down and have a sort of a formulated method of things that you cover in your mind, so that it'll become more automated for you to do that task. So I wanted to point out the bed. This person, are you waking up with a dream that's in your head, like with a scene that you're seeing? But this person is obviously sitting up from in the bed, possibly having very interesting dreams that she's then thinking of right here and remembering what happens in those dreams. And I say she because that's just what I see with a little nightgown, little face. That's what I see there. But in any case, I'm going to show you also, I've got these pictures I've got pictures that I'll flash up right next to it so you can see it on the actual rock, and then on the pictures that I took with the circles and arrows and whatnot. She's dreaming of, I was just really looking. This is a bust. A bust. And actually, I just discovered that's her hair. It may be an elaborate, bridal head veil, because you've got like almost this severe face, like very skinny neck, eye, nose, mouth. And at first, it's almost with this, you're thinking, oh, well, it's like almost like a witch's hat. But no, because look, there's flowers here. It's flowers and flowers. It's beautiful bouquets. This is like flowers and flowers. And that gorgeous. And I think there's a little fairy sitting in there. I swear, it's like really pretty, y'all. And then you flip it on over. So right up here, you see that this flower area, look, it's like a little, it's a fish. There's lines, there's a fin. And then, so, I mean, it's spectacular. Again, face, but this is all a headdress. This huge thing, it comes out here, and it's got these lines. This is the supporting features of if it were a hat, a headdress, whatever it is. You got to have something to hold it up, right? And so you flip it over, and even on the top, look, it's the edges of that same headdress, of the same, flower veil sort of thing. And there's another flower right here at the top. What looks like maybe a mushroom right here. A swoosh, a great big lovely, yes, right here comes out with a big lovely push, a swoosh, a spray. It's fantastical. And as you see, that's coming from the lady who's in the bed. That's like coming from her head. I don't know if you're dreaming of a wedding or not, but she's dreaming of this really fancy flower-laden headdress, bridal veil, flower hat. I don't know. It's very, very lovely. Very lovely. And that's actually it. It's a star. Look. Okay, so it's a star. If I pull it in, can you? Of course, I'll take pictures. They'll be up there too. But in the middle of this hole, and there's lines coming out. Let me get it to... there's lines coming out from the middle, and it's just like a star you just took off the tree when you put up your Christmas ornaments. Anyway, I'll have something blown up for you guys, but I thought that was just very interesting as I was just looking at it and just sort of gathering up some images for this process. It goes on and on and on and on, and I could spend probably... Well, I've spent a good long time, more than I should have, in the last, I don't know, 2 hours. There's so much on here that it's crazy. There's letters, tons of symbols, symbolology, just some really incredible things. And then, I picked it for the large, that's what I had just an imprint of that feature of it in my mind. This flower, almost like a large flower, still with the white, very white around the edges. that was kind of what had said, grab that stone because it's the one with the flower on it. That's what I kind of just knew it as. And so I grabbed it. And so you've got just that element repeated over again. And okay, so that was my rock popping, and I'll pop back in a minute when I see something else. But this is a card of hard work and inspiration and true creativity. That the seal feeds its pups with very rich milk. It's the milk of an older human child, where it's like high in fat and high in nutrients. And they talk about how that feeds into work and creativity by very intensive research. And this intensive research can be a time of school or of perfecting a craft. If you're an artist, or even if you've chosen some very specified degree, it's a time of actually perfecting that craft. So it may take years of your life to do this. It may take years away from your social life that you're putting into whatever it is that you're perfecting. And so seal spends their time nurturing their seal pups in such a way that it creates success for the seal pup, and nurturing them with a very high fat, rich milk in the same way that you've nurtured yourself with this very intensive research and a very intense, pointed focus towards your goal. And then you have Cobra. And this is a dual, considered a creature of duality, because they're considered to have control of both life and death. That they give birth and they also bring about death. And then also the cobra is considered a guardian of water. And then your seal goes in and out of land and water. So you may be a person that water is very significant for you, because both of those things show up in these two animal cards. This cobra is also considered the savior of grain, and that's from Egyptian mythology. And so the advice from Cobra is to feed and water your body well, and walk amongst nature if you're feeling the need to clear your mind, if you're feeling the need to have greater clarity in a question that you're working forward or working towards answering. The Cobra is charismatic and magnetic. And I'll try to remember to point out later how this relates to one of these cards. And then they have the dual powers of creation and death, as we talked about. They're adept at knowing the natural cycles of the land and where there's plentiful food and resources, no matter what's happening with the land. So if there's rice fields and rice paddies growing, then they know to go to that. If there's a monsoon, they know where to go. So again, they perfected their ability to feed themselves and take care of themselves. So the cobra is an animal that is a representative of deep physical and intimate relationships, and that energy is very powerful, and you want to be very careful. It should not be given lightly. You want to be very careful before you introduce this into a relationship with another person. And then also the duality, and because I just forgot to go into these cards. So we got the sense of touch and spirit of strength. And so these cards, it's your sense of touch, which is very soft and very detailed, and then spirit of strength, which is more of a hard push. So this is also a duality in this reading. So we have our sense of touch, and really, to me, this is like the seal with the softness of the touch of the mother nuzzled up against the baby. So that is the sense of touch there, and the representation of you that is very soft, because I think some of the duality may be the things within yourself that are very opposing and opposite juxtapositions, and one or the other you've really had to, like, if you've been involved in school or training or doing an internship, or really really nose to the grindstone, really focused, then you probably have been leaning more into, say, the spirit of strength, which is like more of this very pointed, knowledgeable, and very much a strong animal that's a worthy adversary. I believe that they said that cobra only has one predator, or one animal that it is prey of, and that even sometimes they will decide to walk away, that animal, because they'll know better than to mess with the cobra. So two sides possibly of yourself: the soft, the nurturing, the loving, the more feminine, divine feminine aspect of you, and then the spirit of strength. So I can really see this coming into play if you've been like in a medical internship, if you've been in something that is very intimidating, very much male dominated, possibly, that those pieces of yourself might be warring. And so this is why those kind of dreams might have popped up, where they're rather fantastical and rather something that you have not been that person for a while, like maybe for several years you haven't been that person, and you're like, not understanding, like, that's crazy dreams. Like, I'm dreaming something out of Nanny McPhee, things like that. So because that is kind of the imagery that we were seeing there coming out of her head, and from her dreams. And so we have these two opposing pieces possibly of yourself. And then what we pull for our first tarot card is the Three of Cups. This looks very much like a celebration, very much looks like a graduation party. This also could look like people, in a possibly a break room at work. But to me, the Three of Cups is it's not only about celebration or a party or a good time with friends. It is also about an accomplishment, like a thing past, something that is behind you. So something that is finished. So very much with the graduation feel of that you've been through this time period and you've finished it. And now this is the celebration of moving right into the next level. And then I was looking at their clothes, and there's such an interesting, we've almost got this Harry Potter gown here. I don't even know what that's about as far as different occupations and things, but you've got her with pants on, boots or shoes. He's got this Robin Hood like thing, and she's either got, I don't know, a halo or a hat. And then it looks like she's actually like wearing a doctor's, the white coat with a pair of pants underneath. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe it is a patient's outfit. And then, I mean, why is he dressed to play Robin Hood? Okay. People graduate and come out of school to do many things. There's no end to the things that you might have come out of school to do at this point, or you might be finishing an internship to do. Because a lot of things, whether it's teaching, work in science, in labs, in all different kind of things, require really difficult, long years of school, require internships that are also very long and competitive. And coming out of that, then you would be celebrating with the people that you've been in that program with. So celebrating with the people who have been in school with you, possibly. There are forms involved right here, different forms. You've got a person like facing that way. You've got someone turned around talking to the person facing here. You've got a body here. You've got a person here. There's probably some people back here in the background. This looks very much like a classroom, very much like a place. There's a window or something back there. It might be outside of, on the other side of a glass viewing room. So you've got there's even a person down here, a lot of people in this scene looking like taking part in, all in the same program, maybe all in the same different vocational class, like all would be getting out of school at the same time, like finishing up the program. And so I was looking, and I don't even know if I could do this or not, right? And maybe some of the things I have pictures of and some I don't, and just, I didn't write it down. I'm probably gonna darn well wish I did. It's a whole lot of it. So there's so many things that you might have gone to school for that may have taken like a really, really long time to get through, and to do the internship work and to do the work behind then coming out of school and having a successful career to go towards. A ton of specialties. Well, first of all, you may be in fine art, like an artisan, that you may be, who knows, you may have come out to get your dream job from Disney. You may be an expert in now symbolology and interpreting and translating ancient texts, signs and symbols, etc. You may be an expert now in micro. No, I mean, forgive me not knowing all my ologies, okay? But in microbiology, where you know the exact organism that caused these rings around it, because a lot of that is, if it's not Okay, then you may be the people. You may be the ology, the paleontology. Is that what the people that like study the artifacts that are found under the ground? Sometimes like they're just on the rocks, these artifacts, and they're from when it was an ocean here. Y'all don't need to even know that much, but just saying, you might do that for a living. You might be someone who has learned out in the field painstakingly how to dig up artifacts and how to, and you know, how to look for features of things from the past. Toys that children may have played with right here. Um, Ways that people ate their meals, different myths and stories that involve like mythical creatures. I've seen 2 unicorns on here. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I have. Symbolology. There's an X right here. There's X's all over this. There are also crosses all over it. I'll point out some of the things. There's a lot of fish. Um, this whole scape, as it's like a it's almost like a moonscape, and like if you look, there's these pyramid thingies down here. So you may be a person who studies ancient cultures and their belief in, say, giants or in dragons. I've seen multiple dragons on here. I'll try to point them out. When I mean, look at this face of this child kissing some little tiny monkey. There's some hair right here, little arms. Look at this. Oh, I'm so sorry. So right there. Here, look at this creature. Do you see this creature? Do you see the eyes, the little tiny horns, and this little, it's a seahorse. It's a fancy seahorse. You may be someone who studies the ocean and new organisms that we don't even know, haven't known existed. So all of these things take an incredibly long amount of time to be ready to do. And you may study the gods of like ancient peoples and the gods of tribal people and why, the totems and why, what they mean. You may have done you may study angels. You may be a theology student who is, through doing some sort of practicum work where you've come back to write your doctoral thesis, or you've just finished writing that thesis. And I just had to do that because that's really what this rock is, crazy town. I mean, it's what I see all over this rock is just insanely wonderful, beautiful, creative, artistic. There could be a baboon there. That's the first time I've even seen that right there. Let me see. One, two, here. Big snort nose. Here. Yeah. Wow. Another seahorsey looking thing. Look at that. Look how pretty. It's almost like My Little Pony seahorses. Oh, and then that's kind of like a scary, like a mouse from, not a mouse, it's actually a rat from like Secrets of Nim or something, like kind of scary, a little bit scary. Maybe not a rat, that's looking more like some scary bird. Okay, I don't know. There are some rather frightening things on here. Caves, studying what's painted on the walls of caves. That was something. Okay, so right here you have, wow, it's crazy. That is like a brook, I believe. This is a lady, she's fishing. And you turn around here and there's people. They're like around a campfire. There's more people over here. A little smaller area right there. I think there's a campfire right here. Look at that lovely triangle and this love. Look at that. Look at the beautiful, another seahorse looking creature. It's almost like they're underwater. More water. There was water symbology also in this particular stone. There's water. Let's see, which way do I turn it for that? Cut all this out. This is like this bizarre. Okay, there's a star right here. It's a bizarre fancy cow, or I don't know. Yeah, a bizarre fancy cow. Look at that. It's like it's big with big nose rings or something. But there's like a little poof of hair right here. But it's like there's a star right there at the top. There's a heart. Little tiny symbols, much like that one. It's kind of like a butterfly. And then there are also crystals all in here. If you look at the whole creatures, this is another interesting one. You may be someone who's a paleontologist or who has done your final training to be a paleontologist, where you actually learn to dig up like dinosaurs and stuff. And so here you have one of those weird, scary looking birds. There's an eyes, a big decorative beak, a little thing right here. There you just have a regular puppy. You may be a vet. You may have been in school for a very long time to be a vet. You may be an older person who has gone back to school. Right here, I mean, you may be a rising phoenix, rising from the ashes, because you may be at an age that people thought, that you couldn't do this, shouldn't do this, etc. And you may have just done your completing work to become like a surgeon, or Lord only knows what. And see, look right there. You see, look, there's this. See, he's kind of a scary bird. Do you see the scary bird? Do you sometimes look at this? Okay, so there's some scary looking stuff in here that looks like a dinosaurish kind of. And yeah, you may be somebody that's digging that stuff up and going, "Hey, this existed." Um, I can think of a billion things that you could have been doing at some point over the last. You could have put a long time into it. 5 years, more than 5 years into some of these things, that is something you have to push really hard. You have to be determined. You really can't just hang around and hang out with your friends. You don't have time to do that. And so that's really what that seal card talks about, is having done that and having reached some degree of a pinnacle, a three of cups, where you have completed this one part of the process and entering a new, like maybe even 9 year cycle. And so then the next cards that we pulled, ironically, the whole duality thing, were the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles. And I think Pentacles might have been first, but I don't think it matters. So very opposite knights. Now, knights are fast paced, fast moving energy. And so I was like, I think what we have here is two choices. So this could be, like we talked about, the two sides of yourself, the strength and the touch. And it could be that you've been leaned into this very Knight of Pentacles for quite some time now, while you go through school, while you've been doing your studying, and just really putting time and being practical, reliable, being slow and steady and committed, and all of these things. You're concerned about the future, and you're working towards, and just not removing your nose from the grindstone. So that's one piece of you, but that does not eclipse the whole of you. And this other piece of you, Nine of Swords, may be a little bit more impulsive, and a little bit more of someone who moves on passion. You may also have a very creative, passionate side that you now want to put into the new apartment that you're getting, into the way you present yourself to the world. A new passionate side that you may want to apply to some sort of scientific endeavor or artistic endeavor that you're now beginning because of all your training. And you want that to be more creative. You want it to be more clever and ambitious, and you want to really be passionate and galloping towards it like a Nine of Swords. And I believe that either you're trying to balance, that you may very well, with the duality of these cards, be trying to balance these two pieces of yourself, and trying to come out of that sort of internship, constant hustle mentality into something that's a little more creative, like that's a little bit more artistic spark, no matter what you chose to do. Just a more zen and in the flow way of going about it. You're not in school anymore, so you are wanting, the real thing, and wanting it to be. Yes, you want it to be all the Nine of Pentacles stuff. You want it to be all those good things, but on the other hand, you don't want you don't want to smash your creativity. You don't want to smash the passion that comes with a Nine of Swords. Now, the other thing to think about is that those people that we looked at in that classroom scene, and Lord knows I'm not going back to the rock because we'll never get out of it, but right here, the people that we looked at, what dawned on me is that if this is you, or one of these people is you, these people, this may be two people you went to school with. These may be two people that you're about to become partners with in something that you're starting together, in a business that you're opening together. You finish school and you're opening a practice together, or you're opening you're doing some something with that school together because you graduated together. And it could be that in that team, you have one person who is very slow and fastidious and steady. And it might kind of get on your nerves a little bit with this person because you're really wanting to run forward right now, and they tend to be more methodical and kind of plotting. And sometimes that plottingness is not, maybe might not be suiting how you're feeling at that moment, though it is steady and reliable and a good person to have in business with. So certainly somebody that's a good choice. And at the same time, I believe that you also have a Knight of Swords that is also working there. Now, this could be two people of any gender, but two people, one that's more logical, planning, bullet points, organized, and this one that is more of a rush in swiftly, may not think things through. That causes the danger with this person. They may not think something through. So there's a possibility that out of that class that we just looked at on that rock, and out of these people that are celebrating together, that you may be going into business with or going to work at the same place as Nine of Pentacles and a Nine of Swords, which are two very opposing kinds of people. Could be that you're on the same department together, that you are working on this specific dig or experiment or whatever together. It could be that you have to go out of town, work together very closely. If these people are of the, if there's an opposite sex thing going on here, if you find that, I believe that's where Cobra, one of the reasons that Cobra has come up here is because also the not socializing, being in school and stuff, those things may hit you in a way that you haven't stopped to be that in a while. And so it may hit you in a way that's like more intense that it should, at the moment. And you've got to make sure that, as Cobra said, that you keep it, that you make sure that you don't take lightly who you do take up with. And then also try to evaluate, your lack of patience with one of these two knights represented in some people in your world that you'll be working with. You could very well be starting a new job, moving into a new apartment. This could be one guy that's at work, one guy that's in the apartment next door to you. This could be lots of situations. So that could be the case, or one girl that's in both places, however, whatever arrangement. Will and Grace, whatever. Or it could just be that you're needing to balance those two parts of yourself. Moving forward into this new life, into a new year, past graduation, and past this heavy work where you're looking at the beginning of some social existence, and it's certainly time, and you've certainly done you've done your part. You've waited as long as you should, and it's time to do that now. So you're looking to do that, and you need to keep your head on straight, and also be sure to not just jump in with an automatic assumption about the Nine of Pentacles that is slow and methodical, and I don't know, maybe wants to eat at the same exact place every day or something, or just like maybe it's not stoking your interest as much as the Nine of Swords character who, is just out to go dancing, or out to go partying, and kind of like is, like up in the air having a great time, but may not be as stable. Or it could be that you're either one of those kind of people and you need to find the other party there to balance you out. Just keep those things in mind, that all those things need to be balanced, whether it's inside of yourself or within a relationship that you take on as you start this new life. There's a duality within all of us, and there's a duality within our worlds, that those things need to stay in balance, that the bullet point organized you needs to work nicely with the artistic and creative you, or the person that has a vision for what kind of vet they want to be, or a vision for how they want to do their scientific work, or whatever your thing is. We know that we have the threes in general. You got the Three of Cups there. Harmony, wisdom, and understanding is the number 3. And we know that we've got connections that are happening and going out and mingling with new people in the Three of Cups. And we also have in the Three of Cups a good turn of fortune, the beginning of another level. So a new level, possibly requiring the same hard work, but a whole different, it's a different ball game now, particularly if you're moving out. Particularly if you're starting your own adult life, you're strengthening social bonds with people, you're starting emotional bonds with people. You haven't really taken time to do those things up until now with the heavy impetus on school. So these are just things for you to think about. No, shoot, this card fell. Okay, this is the one that popped out from the Nature Oracle. So, of course, emotions is what we pull from the Nature Oracle. Emotions transform energy. Energy creates movement. Movement is change. That's the Cobra. Necessary change. Inevitable change. And change is the essence of my life. The more I choose to change, the more empowered I feel. I am energy in motion. So even though we may be sad about leaving, my room at home was pink and pink, and I was very sad about leaving the pink and the pink. Even though you might be sad about leaving the pink and the pink, you get to totally create your own space that you're moving into, even if it's just your room within a shared space. It's still yours, and you get to do it the way you want to, and you get to put your little whatever you like, lights or good smells or lamps. There will be new that's going to come in, and so the emotions also have to be kept in check. You have a very balanced spread here with cups, pentacles, swords. We have the touch, the strength. We have the strength. We have hard work, inspiration, creative endeavors. And then with this rock, my God, with this rock, you have just like a billion choices of a gazillion things out there that people might be. Also beauty and creativity, because my goodness, I don't even understand. There's a dragon right there. There's one. Okay, I just don't know what you guys, because I can't really see it, but there's a tip of a nose right here. Billowing smoke. Look. See, whoosh, whoosh, and then billowing smoke. I believe I found an N on here. There's a V right there. Sorry. There's an E on here. A Y. That looks like some sort of weird fish. You may study. That was another one you may study. The marine life. That, yeah, is at the bottom of the ocean that we haven't even identified yet. There it is. That's how you see the phoenix right there. See how I told you I took the pictures, and I just like completely with the head right there, and it's going upwards. Indeed. A chameleon. Yeah. The like lizard. So congratulations on whatever this hard work you've done is, getting your doctoral degree, getting your thesis finished, having everything accepted, and getting it through. Be careful when you're out there. Keep your emotions, where they need to be, so that you're not like all out there acting crazy because you finally got a little freedom, because you're, gearing it down a little bit finally. Yep. Sensuality and passion stir beneath a cloak of secrecy. I mean, boy, they just keep, oh, I think I did that. Saying the same thing. Same thing. So, it's okay to keep it behind the cloak of secrecy until you figure out kind of who you want to be, how you want to be. And then, after that, then you can be your whole full self. There's more than one part of you, and you need to honor all of those parts to be the best person that you can be as you go forth and grow and learn and change and everything. And have faith that you already possess the ability to do all these things that you've chosen to do. It is your divine nature to do the work that you've chosen to do. That may be studying eagles in their natural habitats. Your world, your life, your talent is sacred. You're here for a sacred reason. That God has sent you at this specific moment to do the job that you have been asked to do, and all will be well. All is well and will be well, because you may be rescuing baby deer, little Bambi, with your animal husbandry degree. So I wish you guys the best of 2026. My supermoon, full moon of the new year group. Wish you the best in your endeavors, and thank you for hanging out with me. And please do let me know in the comments below which thing it is that you're doing now that you graduated. You may have taken classes in Reiki. You may have done all sorts of things. There are many, many opportunities nowadays to advance yourself and choose another way of life. Like I said, you may be the phoenix going back to school and becoming something totally new that no one thought you could do. So by all means, share that with me in the comments. It will inspire me to be the best that I can be as well. And I hope you guys have a great 2026. And by all means, come and see me again. Hang out. See you next time.